Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Counterparts. John Henry Soto here, along with George Batista. We are here. We missed last week, so we apologize, or I apologize because I was a little bit under the weather, and but I'm feeling fantastic right now because I took a lot of vitamin C.
Hmm.
I did,
Nice.
but don't tell anyone that I did that because that will get us banned.
RCA.
Anyway, we want to thank you all for tuning in. We really know that there's just a lot of stuff that you can be doing tonight. So if you're watching this, we're really grateful. Tonight we're going to be talking about. We have our last show. We did the talking points for an artist, and we're going to do the final five. We had 10. We did first five. We're going to do the final five tonight. So please stick around. We will be right back. Don
Lugar.
Juga, ¿qué pasa? Hola, bienvenidos amigos y amigas al programa Contipunta.
Conte Punta.
Jorge
It's a
Batista.
different name every single time you do that. You know that.
I can't be the same. I gotta change it up. So, it was a really good show a couple of weeks ago. The last show that we did, where we were talking about the important talking points, and one of the things that I'm always really focused on is that there's certain conversations that I think artists have that really that they have together that really can elevate each other, and that's why there's so many podcasts and so many people having conversation, because conversation is what can inject an idea into someone's universe and really get them to really elevate their thought process and figure things out and come up with ideas. And those are like the think tanks, right? or
Right.
or these listening sessions, as we say in some of these places where I work. But these talking points are really important, I think, and there's probably thousands of them. These are just 10 that I kind of use in JHS talent management to kind of have conversations with different artists and to kind of see where they are. And it also helps me kind of, what's that noise over there? It kind of helps me. Do you hear that? Okay. It kind of helps me figure out where they are and how can I help them, right? Because that's
Right.
really what we do. So that's where we are right now. But anyway, how you doing, George?
I'm fantastic. I'm doing great.
Out of prison finally?
I'm finally out of prison. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
A little
Just
while.
weekend, just till you will sober up.
Yeah. What happened? That's what happens again when you use too much vitamin C and then they
Too
catch
much
you.
vitamin C, you go into a vitamin C drunk stupor,
Exactly.
and yeah. Um, but yeah, so we talked last time. We talked about passion fuels progress. We talked about having a unique voice. We talked about perseverance over talent. Sometimes you'll get
Hmm.
someone that's just is so driven and maybe doesn't have extreme talent, but they're so driven that they overtake someone who has a lot of talent. And this is where laziness will kill you,
Yeah.
or procrastination. Those kinds of things will just kill you if you're talented, but if you're not really, if you can't persevere. Go ahead, George.
No, just really quick on that note, just something I thought was very interesting. The other day, I saw a quote from Neil Peart, the drummer
Ah,
from Rush, who was considered one of the greatest of all time to do
one
it.
of our idols.
And his quote was something to the effect of, I wasn't as talented as everyone else, but I was more driven than most. It was
Yes.
something like that. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, look at
Yeah.
that. But
That's
yeah,
exactly
that's
what
to
it
that
is.
point. Yep.
That is what it is. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these, you know, you'll see you can name them. I mean, obviously he was like ridiculously talented,
Yeah.
but he put in the work,
Hmm.
and um, he was driven. And I
Yep.
think, what was it? I heard Will Smith once say that if we get on a treadmill and it's the competition to see who stays on that treadmill the most. He's like, I'm either going to win or I'm going to die on that treadmill because I am not going to get off that treadmill. I will keep going, and and that's really the kind of energy, and drive that you want to have,
Or
and
he'll
that's what
smack
gives
you.
you the strength huh?
Or I said, or he'll smack you.
Yeah, that's what gives you the strength to go up on stage and smack people. You need to have that perseverance. Then we talked about feedback is a gift.
Yep.
When there's feedback, and then of course there's criticism, and there's negative criticism, and then there are people who just think, you know what, that's really good. I'm thinking that maybe if you did this, that might actually enhance it. Why don't we try that?
Mm-hmm.
That's a much better way of approaching someone if you want to give them some type of advice. So being able to know the difference between that and not have your ego get in the way is really really important as well, right?
Absolutely.
And then the last thing we talked about was mindset, which is really oversees everything. Really, your mindset does matter, and it's something that you can also cultivate, as you go along, because not everyone is born with the right. I'm sure some people are, but not everyone is. You develop a stronger mindset as you start achieving goals, and you start, failing, and then winning, and then failing, and then winning. Your mindset starts getting stronger, and you're just able to take more, right?
Right.
So we talked about those five things last time on the talking points. Do you have anything on that, George?
No, I mean, I think you addressed it perfectly. And the mindset thing is so big. It's so huge. You really, and like we said, I think last time, it's really where everything starts, because
It is.
and it's going to really, really pull you through that whole thing. Because again, it's going to pull you through the dark times,
Yep.
the tough times.
It's going to dictate how well you do. It's
Exactly.
just, what I mean. It's
Yep.
just that's going to be, it's going to say whether you're successful or not, and the struggles that you feel. Um, if your mindset is strong enough where you're able to kind of peel yourself off the couch
Yeah.
and say, I had that horrible thing happen, or that loss, or I didn't get the audition, or whatever happened, but you're able to kind of dust yourself off and keep going.
Right.
Well, that's going to dictate your future,
Yep.
and how often you do that, and how often you do not listen to the assholes that are out there that are going to give you negative comments and negative feedback. That's just what it is,
Yeah.
So, I got an email from someone, really, really mean person, but, they it was sort of like, I thought to myself, it was like three or four sentences, right, in an email on, I started JHS Talent Management, and we've been sending out a lot of information, and we've been contacting a lot of people, and we've been meeting with a ton of people, and we have people that we're ready to, they're in the process of doing the paperwork, and we're getting them on board, and we'll be, this is rock and roll, and we're doing this. So people will call in, or people will email in, and the effort that it takes to write four sentences mean to someone, you know, than to just hit delete or
Mm.
block or whatever, that right there is exactly the mindset that will make you fail.
Mm. Yeah.
That is your ultimate demise, will be in those four sentences that you decided that you were going to really tell this guy off. Who the hell does he think he is, trying to help artists? Because he's already so successful, or thinks he was successful. He's actually a huge failure. And I'm gonna actually do some commentary on this moving forward, not to shed any light on him. I'm not gonna put
Sure.
any attention on him at all,
Sure.
but just as a learning point, as just as a piece of content to educate, exactly on what we're talking about the mindset part. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the part that really is man, you gotta have it. You gotta
It's
have a strong.
amazing that somebody would actually do that.
Mhm. Well,
I
it's
mean,
a reflection of
I
where
get
they are
like
than me.
I get if you put something out on social media and the comments and all that stuff. I get all that, but to actually, have a thought out, this whole thought
And an
out,
email.
and
It
an
wasn't even like
email,
just an email to
that's
me.
like,
That's a lot of work,
wow,
a lot of
I don't get.
effort. It's and I heard someone say today, when they get messages like that, private messages, and someone hating on them, they said, I'm really sorry you feel that way. Here's my phone number. Why don't you give me a call and let's talk about it? And he said 90% of the people don't call him, and the
Yeah,
ones that do are already in apologizing as
right.
they're calling
Oh, well,
and
there
saying,
you
I'm just
go.
having a bad day and I'm sorry. I don't know why I did that. Or somebody say, I wanted to get your attention. And he's like, good, it worked. Well, got my attention. How can I help you? That kind of deal. Um, but it's a reflection of where they are.
Yeah, of
When
course,
someone
of course.
criticizes anything or anyone, it's a reflection of where they are, not
Sure,
where the thing is.
sure.
Um, and
Wow.
it's also them it's self sabotage in a way as
Yeah,
well, because remember they keep that. They keep that. They sent that thing out, but they're keeping it. Like I'm not. It's not absorbing on me. I'm not.
yeah,
I went and continued with my day, and
mm,
and matter of fact, I had a really great day.
right.
When I remember when that email, because that a lot of stuff was coming in, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
great stuff was coming in. So it didn't really affect me, but so that person still has this in them,
Yeah,
that whatever it is, and they're living with it. And a lot of it has to do with the failure, frustration, with thinking that they're owed something. That's another thing. People think, well, I've been doing this for 10 years. Well, when am I going to get my break? What? You may do this for 50 and never get the break,
sure.
but you spent a life doing something you love to do. How about that?
Right.
How about
Yeah,
that? How
yeah,
about you doing something that you love to do instead of thinking that you're owed something, because you're not owed anything.
right.
It's like you're out there creating the best work you can possibly work. So anyway, that was that just the mindset matter. That just was that email just kind of was a perfect example of what not to do.
Yeah,
You know, not just as an artist, but just as a human being.
sure.
Like
Definitely.
fix this real quick. This is disturbing me. So so we're gonna go and we're gonna start with the first one from the next five. Well, actually, before we do that, why don't we do our sponsor?
Sure. All right. Excuse me. Well, the Counterpart Show was brought to you by Wellness Resources, a family owned and operated nutritional supplement company providing the highest quality, clinically formulated supplements since 1985. Find out why they are not only my choice, but the choice of many health conscious individuals around the world. Fantastic supplements. Make sure you check them out at myvitaminresource.com. Now, if you enter the promo code Counterparts, of course, as our listeners and viewers, you will get free shipping on your order. And then you can include on that as well their monthly specials. And this month special is 25% off their immune supplements. We all need immune supplements, especially, remember, we have the winter coming up. Everything's getting cold up here, especially in the Northeast, and you want to make sure your immune system is really bulked up. So Wellness Resources can help you do that. So again, 25% off plus the Counterparts, which free shipping, fantastic savings for you. So again, Wellness Resources at myvitaminresource.com.
Cool, perfect. So um, I also wanted to talk about this.
Ah,
So the Healthy Artist Blueprint, something that George and I have been working on for I think a year now, and it's at 82 pages right now, which was supposed to be only one page. We had this weird idea where we were gonna do a one page to hand out to artists that would give them everything that they wanted. Now we didn't realize that we'd have to write in the smallest print known to man and their hand in order to do a one page. So what we did, we took the word healthy, because healthy doesn't always mean just physical. It's also mental, spiritually, environment, your healthy environment. And we took it and we made it into this acronym, which is habits, exercise, affinity, lessons, technology, happiness, and yes. And we broke these down in past episodes. If you want to go back and you can check out those past episodes where we broke down each one of these specifically on what we actually talk about on the blueprint. And we're going to be having that for you. We promise. It'll be a download, and we're just trying to figure out a few details on that. But yes, and so I wanted to talk about that because that's all included in everything. Pretty much everything that we talk about is in that blueprint.
Yeah.
Um, so the first thing that is on the list here is networking,
Mm.
and so what I have here is networking. So you're not alone. You're not on this journey alone. Make connections, seek mentors, and collaborate with others in your field. Networking can open doors you never knew existed, and you'll learn from a variety of different perspectives. It's weird when you write something and you don't read it for a very long time. You're like, I wrote this. um, like I'm reading it for the first time. But yeah, so this is actually really good. Mentors is something that really I think a lot of people have trouble trying to find a mentor or someone that they reach out to for certain things. Like George is my mentor for health. Like I would much rather go to George and ask him a question. Now I must say that George is not a doctor, and everything that I that I state right that we talk about health is these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This program is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please seek advice of your doctor. But I will seek advice from George first before I go to doctor. And then I'll even go to George first, and then second I'll go to Dr. Seuss. Then I'll go to Dr. J. And I'll go to Dr. Scholes. Um, but when it comes to physical stuff, I consider him a mentor in that respect. When it comes to music, when it comes to things like that, George and I are each other's
Hmm.
mentors. We
Yep.
talk about stuff like that. And so it's important to have somebody that you can trust, where you can bring a situation to, and you're going to get back the proper care factor and feedback. And in networking, um, how to find a mentor is you have to go to networking events. You have to go out. You got to be out in the world. See,
Right.
a lot of times, especially in recent years with social media and the last couple of years where we've been locked up and we've had to, resort to this kind of communication, which was a blessing in a lot of ways because this show was born out of that, the last couple of years, and a lot of other opportunities came because of those years. But knowing in my head that freedom and being out and networking and meeting people and going to events, that's really where you find a mentor, and that's really where you find uh, your joy, on what it is that you're trying to get. So networking is really important. So where can you go to network?
Mm.
That's the question, right? So there are so many groups on Facebook that you can type in whatever you're interested in. Let's just say right now you're interested in homemade tomato sauce, and that's like one of your passions. If you go on to Facebook right now and you type in homemade tomato sauce, you're going to get thousands of people that are interested in it, and they have probably thousands of groups across the globe that are interested in homemade tomato sauce. You know, Within that is a way that you can mentor. There's also a lot of meetup groups. If you
Yeah.
live in the local area, go to meetup.com and find a local group, that is into cooking or is into music or film or whatever it is that you're interested in, and start networking, because it really is such an important thing, to building your own strength, your own foundation on what it is that you want to do. Like with us, we've interviewed some of legends on this show. That's networking.
Yeah.
These are people that we now know that are that know us and that liked us
Right.
and enjoyed being on the show. That there's a power to that we would not have been able to get had it not been for the pandemic and for what occurred the last couple of years. So use it and use that opportunity to meet people, to whatever that is.
And a couple of things on that, especially if you're just starting in whatever it is that you're doing, music, whatever kind of artistic endeavor you're doing. If you're, let's say you're a shy person or whatever the case may be, like he said, Facebook groups and things like that. But also, a mentor doesn't necessarily have to be a person that you're actually talking to. A mentor can be someone who is in the position that you're in, that you're just looking up to, right? My mentors in the beginning in music were Neil Peart and Dave Weckl and all these guys. I didn't know these guys, but I considered them mentors because I was learning from them.
Correct.
I wanted to know everything about them. I wanted to know their background, how they started, what they do, how much they practice every day. So they were, for me, they were mentors. So that's the first thing. And you could even start there, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then again, you have a lot of groups that you can join and stuff like that. But then also look for opportunities in your area, if you want to go that extra step and get out of your comfort zone. Opportunities in your area to hang out with musicians, hang out with actors, hang out with painters or whatever. I do it. When I started in the health and nutrition, I looked for like gatherings for supplement companies and things like that. I looked for trade shows and stuff, and I would go into the city, and they on a Saturday, and it was I mean there was one that was fantastic where we actually I didn't know it was going to be this good. They had a whole lecture. It was like half the day was lectures about supplements and about how good they were and health conditions. And I was taking notes like crazy. And everybody in there was either a nutritionist or a doctor, right?
Uh,
And I got to meet tons of people. But then from there, we went on a boat and we went around, to the Statue of Liberty, and we did one of those tours,
oh, cool.
and it was all included in this whole package. And I
Uh,
mean, it was one of the best times I ever had. And I didn't think it was going to be, but I tell you, it was fantastic. And I met so many fantastic people, and I networked. We
yeah.
talked about, oh, what's your expertise? Oh, I expertise in these supplements. I deal with diabetes. I deal with this. I deal with that. And it was just, I got a lot of great ideas out of it.
Wow.
So, those types of things are fantastic too. If you want to, again, take that extra step and you want to really start meeting with people, because you never know who you're going to meet and what that could lead to
Mhm.
down the line, right? If you're a musician, it could lead to starting a band with somebody, or just playing, or just jamming with
Yeah.
musicians and stuff like that. And those things can lead to a lot of other things. So just a couple of tips on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are great, like, networking events that you actually go to and you sign up for, and
Right, exactly.
that you already know that everyone that's going to be in that room is already a like-minded individual. So
Hmm.
you're already all your the pressure is already off of having to try to find people that get you, because
Right.
everyone in there already gets you. It's like, so it's a wonderful thing to do that. And especially as an artist, um, like here in Nashville, there's a lot of networking happening with songwriters. There's a lot of songwriting circles here, and there a lot of writing groups. They get together and they just write songs in a circle, and they're all over the city. They're happening they're happening right this second, right now. There's one happening, and it's all the time, and it's a wonderful place because you could not only get ideas for songs, you can also, you click with somebody and say, hey, let's
Right.
work on this song together,
Yep.
and now you have a writing partner or a band member, or a band's created, and with film, doing, you know showing up if somebody needs a background and just saying, I want to be there, I want to show up. I mean, that was really my education in film, learning how the direct learning how what the director does and what he says and all that stuff.
Yep.
I got from being on set a lot. I did a ton of backgrounds from 30 Rock to Rescue Me to all the Law and Order shows. I did all the background stuff on that. And once you're back, you kind of know, always listening, because you got to make sure you got to be where you got to be. But once all I did was just focus on what was going on,
Hmm.
and people are talking and they're all whatever. But I'm just focused on what the director is doing, how he's approaching the who. Oh, there's a script supervisor. Oh, that person is with the script. Oh, that somebody has the script there. I'm learning
Yep.
that somebody on set has the script. So if somebody forgets their line, they come up and they're the script supervisor and they supervise it to make sure that it stays on point. There's a continuity person that makes sure, like, if I unbutton this button here, and then on, because it's hot, and then the next scene I go to do the shot, you got to button that back up again because
Ah,
it was buttoned up when you first did the scene.
interesting.
Yeah, all that stuff that I didn't think about, but I was on set and I was like, oh, okay, there's a continuity person. There's a first, the first AD, assistant director, the second assistant director, then the director, then there's the camera guy. I'm learning all this stuff from that. And on those sets, I networked. I met a
Hmm.
bunch of actors. They were also doing films. They would invite me on their film. If I was close with them, I did with one guy that we were just by coincidence, we were on the same we were on two backgrounds by coincidence. We just happened to, we were like, hey, on set. And we were just background. And then we were actually in a film together
Oh,
afterwards.
cool.
And I still to this day talk to him, and just a ton of people like that that you meet within the industry that you have to kind of, you spend the day, you don't make a lot of money, as an extra, a non-union extra, you make maybe $100, for the day, but you're there a whole day. They feed you, and you get to experience being on a film set. You get to see all the big cameras and get to see the actors and the all that stuff. It's really a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
that's another way to network. So there's a
Nice.
lot of ways to do that.
Yep.
So the next one is something that George is gonna talk about. It's health is wealth.
Hmm.
So you know this is something that I do talk to my talent about because I'm curious. I want to know where they are physically, mentally, but really physically too. It's like because mentally and physically can be worked on separately sometimes. Somebody could be maybe really well, put together. They're fit, they eat well, they exercise, but their mind is, they have a lot of mental anguish, right? So we're not talking about the mental part right now because we talked a little bit about that mindset matters kind of thing and environment and all that. We're really talking about the actual health, actual, this is not easy. And and I know that because I get exhausted and I literally have to take a day,
Yeah.
to just
Hmm.
rest my body because I was just nonstop and I'd been doing that for about 6 months and last week I started feeling just weird, not necessarily even sick, but just like feeling hitting a wall on mentally, and it was dark, and I just had to like stop for a second and just kind of breathe and take some supplements and stuff and go for walks and go for drives and spend time with the family and stuff like that. And that got me out of it, but you have to have that in place, because it's such a difficult industry to survive in, period.
Yeah.
And if you're not taking care of your body, you're not eating well and exercising, everything's going to be harder, man.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be harder.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah.
So yeah, so George, talk a little bit about. I guess I'll ask you, like, what's something that you would recommend, for an artist, or for anyone, but mainly an artist since we're addressing artists right now, but to really focus on when they're out and about, and trying to get stuff done.
Well, and again, it's you. Even though we're not talking about mentally, like the mindset part of it, but the
Right.
mind and the body do have to work together in concert, especially when you're doing these types of things, right? Just like you said, when you were mentally exhausted, which eventually was affecting your physical body, right? So
So, yeah.
so it does work together in that way. So you really have to understand that, and part of it is, you know, you have to understand, like, almost like, how could I say it? You have to make sure that you have time for yourself and then time for what you're doing too. Okay, so if I'm a musician and I'm playing 8 hours a day, or in this, or I'm in the studio, for example. You know, how many marathon sessions do we do in the studio and stuff like that? Okay,
Yeah.
you know, I have to understand that even if I'm going to do that, I also have to prepare myself even prior to that and after that, because there is so much stress. There is so much, physical, chemical, emotional stress that hits you when you're doing these sessions, or when you're on a movie set, or when you're doing these types of things. You don't realize how much stress you're under until when you feel that exhaustion later.
Yep.
That's all the stress.
Yeah.
Okay, that stress is inflammation. Okay,
Oh,
it is. It's inflammation that, that your body is using whatever nutrition you have to deal with that inflammation. Okay,
yeah.
but it's sucking out all that nutrition to deal with the inflammation, which eventually gets you tired, because now your body's like, okay, we used all the nutrients we have on board. You need to rest. Okay,
Right.
but you need to replenish all that. So obviously you want to make sure you're replenishing all that, so the next day, if you have to do it again, your brain and your body are back up. Okay, so
Right.
again, obviously, like you said, eating well, getting those antioxidants in is so vitally important, because if you're in a stressful situation, whether you're in a marathon session or whatever it is, your antioxidants are depleted. You got to get all that stuff in. So your fruits and vegetables, your however many servings, you have to get that in to keep the inflammation down and for the recovery. Okay.
Yeah.
And then also the body part of it as well. Okay. Because the body takes a hit, especially if you're a drummer, or especially whatever it is that you're doing. The body does take a hit, even if you're sitting, right?
Yeah.
I was a drummer sitting for 8 hours a day doing all this. After a month, my body's like, okay, so you have to take time for yourself, and to do a little bit of, even if it's just a stretching, even if it's just a little bit of yoga, even if it's just because your body needs that to decompress, to get all the fluids moving into the, wherever they need to go, to start to rejuvenate and recover again. So a lot of it is stress, and then recovery, and stress and recovery, and stress, and it's that type of thing. So it's very important to do that. And if you're eating crap and you're not doing that, it's going to be much harder, and it's going to take a lot longer to recover and
Yeah.
eventually do what you need to do. So,
And to do
it
good work.
exactly, to do good work, to be sharp enough. Okay. Because
Sharp.
I
Yeah.
guarantee you, if your mind is sharper, those ideas are going to come much quicker and better. Those creative ideas are going to really flow if it's that way, if you do
And the
that.
performances are going to be better as
Correct.
well. So last 3 weeks I did a gig with the band. It was a 4-hour gig, and I had to learn 30 songs. You know how I do covers.
It's crazy.
I don't do covers, but I had to learn these 30 songs, and it was fine. But the stress level.
Yeah.
And then I was getting ready because I'm also learning my lines. I had 3 pages to do on a film set that following week. So it was 3 weeks of preparing. 1 week to prepare for the gig, and then another week to prepare for the film. And so the stress.
Yeah.
And again, people say, "Oh, that's not stressful," I just say, "Shut up." Um, it is stressful. A stressful situation is whatever the individual feels stressful to them.
Yeah.
If somebody has $1 billion and has no money issues, but they have a stress going on in their life, that stress is real to them.
Of course it
It
is.
doesn't matter that they have a lot of money. It doesn't matter. And it's like we're looking at it like, well, you should be able to. No, it shouldn't be able to anything.
Right.
People are stressed at where they are.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
matter what they have or what they don't have. Stress is stress,
Yeah.
and so this industry, when you're working and you have you know 20 people around you and a camera pointing at you, and you got lights, and you have all this dialogue, and you have to do it not only once, but you got to do it at least 10 times, and there's a time, the clock is ticking. You don't have a lot of, you're on a schedule, you know what I mean? You're a
Hmm.
professional, you got to get your lines. That's stressful.
Yes.
That creates a sense of stress, and you do feel the 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 supplements and the exercise and the breathing and the stretches. You do feel how incredible that helps. Like I
Yes.
do a thing, like I breathe through my nose, and I
Hmm. Yep.
and I do three of them, and it's usually if I'm going into any kind of situation that I'm going into, I take my deep 3 breaths,
Yep.
and I start focusing, and I do also, visualization where
Yep.
I'm putting myself in that situation, and I want to make sure that I know, at least I have an idea of what I think that's going to be like. That it'll give
Hmm.
me some idea. If I've been there before, I kind of know the scene. If I've seen pictures, I use whatever visual stimuli I can use in order to get the visualization of it.
Right.
The breath. I work out every day, and then I eat. A lot of times I do intermittent fasting, right? But
Hmm.
I don't do that if I'm shooting early in the morning.
Hmm.
What ends up happening is a lot of film sets, and I'm glad I do this because I've always been right. You go on to film sets, and it depends on the film set, obviously. I mean, some bigger sets they're cooking you breakfast, and stuff like that. But if you're on a small budget set, you're gonna show up with coffee and donuts,
Mm.
bagels and cream cheese. That's gonna be your breakfast.
Yeah.
And I can't do. We were just talking about bagels before we went on the air. I can't do a bagel anymore.
Right.
Bagels are out of my life, and I
Right.
love bagels, but I can't do bagels because I eat a bagel and then I'm shaking,
Yeah.
and then I'm just thinking, oh, I'm hungry. I got to eat again. No, no, it's just that my body is just not processing right, and it's the sugars. The sugars get all that stuff, and so I can't do the bagels anymore. So if I'm on a film set, I already know that morning I got to have a nice breakfast.
Yeah.
I got to make myself a nice breakfast because I have a long drive. I had to drive over an hour to get to this place, and I had a long drive, and then I have like a bag of almonds in my car, and I have like other good bars and some fruit and stuff that I took with me. So I have water and stuff in my car. So I have everything in my car that I need, um, just because I know that morning is going to be now. Lunchtime, generally, it's pizza if it's a low budget.
Right.
If it's a decent budget, like the one that we were in had a really nice, great food. They
Mm.
had like chicken, and they had rice, and they had a lot of you know good food and stuff. Um, but I'm very aware of that as well. So I bring enough food where I'm not gonna then be like, oh, I guess I'm gonna have to have this pizza,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna feel like crap for the rest of the night.
Yep.
Then I'm gonna have the drive home, and I'm gonna be like, oh god, I don't feel good, and I'm weak, and not to that extreme, but you do feel weak. I
Right.
get weak. It's like it just sucks, and but you have to also have the understanding that your health is your wealth,
Right.
and your health is what's going to get you become a better performer. So
Exactly.
eating beforehand, and putting it into your routine as okay, this is an hour drive. Okay, I got to eat something before I get there. I got to make something here. I got to think with those things, because that's going to be in the long run. And get a little bag. Pamela and I, my wife and I, had these little lunch bags. It's
Hmm.
pretty big lunch bags, and we would have. I'd be able to fill that thing up with soup, chicken, vegetables. At the bottom, I had other things in there, and it was this big thing, and then a water bottle. And I would take that whenever I had to go out for the full day, and that
Mm.
would be my food source.
Right.
And if you have a car, even better. I've been thinking about getting a refrigerator for my car, like a little mini
Yeah.
refrigerator, that goes
Hmm.
into because I don't really, the trunk is always empty because I put my equipment back there.
Mm.
So like a little tiny refrigerator just to keep a couple of cold waters
Cool.
on all the time, and then I have all the snacks and stuff. So if you get stuck somewhere, you're not going to be depleted, and you're not going to break your diet.
Right.
Now you got to think, well, I've heard people say this. Well, there was nothing else around, so I had to
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
I had to eat. No, it's just that you didn't plan it.
Correct.
You didn't think with it,
Yeah.
and that is a major, major thing about art and artists that are out there.
Exactly. Just one note on the stress piece, and and it goes to that planning as well. Because remember that when you are dealing with stress, even if you're sitting there or whatever it is, and it's a stressful day, your body has does not know the difference
Right.
between you being chased by a rabid dog down the street or you sitting there in a stressful situation, or if you're in your in an office. You know,
Right.
it secretes the same hormones. It's the adrenaline and all that. It secretes the same thing, so it goes through the same thing.
Right.
So just keep that in mind on the stressful side, and then pick whatever modality you that will work for you to de-stress, right? And that's part of the planning, just like you said, planning the
Yeah.
meals, planning the day. Also use whatever it is that you know it might be a stressful day, so I'm going to use X, Y, or Z to de-stress. Okay, I'm going to use my breathing technique. I'm going to use my meditation. I'm going to use my yoga. I'm going to use my tapping technique. I'm going to use whatever it is that works for you that helps you de-stress. Even if you put Bob Ross on your phone for a little while, just
So relaxing.
to relax you. Whatever
Yeah.
it is that relaxes you, pick a modality that works, and just use it over and over, because eventually your brain will get used to that thing and then will associate relaxation with that thing. So
So no matter where
the
you are,
exactly,
that
it'll
thing
kick
will
in
relax.
faster
Yeah.
every time you see it. So
Yeah, that's a great
just
idea. Yeah.
yeah,
And for me, it's music,
there you
so
go.
whenever I go anywhere, I always have the music that I want to listen to.
Right,
And that really just relaxes me, especially during work.
right, exactly.
It's an important thing. I think also, the planning part of it, it's a business.
Hmm.
You are a talent. You are someone that is relied on to provide a service.
Yeah.
And if you go into a donut shop and they forgot to make the donuts that morning, or somebody forgot to turn the oven on early on to get it heated, well, that's a failing business.
Yeah.
You have to plan ahead. So your product requires you to plan by putting together a strategic, list of things that you need for this project on this day.
Yep.
And that, so yeah, you have to, it's a serious, if you want to do it seriously, you got to take it seriously. You got to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm going to be leaving here at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'm not going to be back till, whatever, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, whatever it is. That's a full day you're out there. You don't want to spend a gazillion dollars if you're shooting in Manhattan,
Right.
where each meal is going to be $30,
Yeah.
a decent meal. So you want to get the idea, get a bag, get those nice little bags. You can go to Amazon and get a really nice one for $30. You get a really great bag that you'll use for years to come, and start planning what are good meals that are going to give you the strength that you need. Obviously, you have to do vegetables. You have to
Hmm.
do, some fruits.
Yep.
Nuts are great. Some
Yep.
nuts are great. Peanuts, I don't think are great. I don't like to eat peanuts.
Yeah,
Peanuts
me
are
either.
actually pretty nasty. I like almonds.
Yep. Me too.
Um, I do like cashews.
Hmm.
Sometimes, not a lot of cashews either, because
Right.
that's so
It's
very
a lot of
heavy
fat.
in heavy in fat.
Yep.
But definitely almonds, and also walnuts are really
Yep.
good too. And
Hmm.
sometimes they also have these little combinations of these
Yeah.
things. You'll get them, you have to look at them, make sure that they don't stick in asbestos, which they tend to do a lot. Um, but yeah, so that's important. So yeah,
Yep.
plan it out. Plan out
Hmm.
your health. It's really important. Okay, so the next one, we spend a lot of time on those two.
Hey,
It is what it
it
is.
is what it is.
Yeah, these other ones are pretty. The next one is never stop learning, which is something that George and I can tell you that, I mean, George, we send each other. I just sent him today a thing. I was like, "Yeah, have you seen that thing I sent you?" It was a nutritional thing, and George talks like this guy. So I was like, I always send him out. I want to get his views on what he thinks of this video,
Mm-hmm.
and this whole thing. But we send each other stuff about music, about film, about health, and I'm always constantly learning. I'm
Yeah.
always reading. I'm always trying to figure out what's happening now. What's the best software for editing. What cameras are people using now? Those kinds of things. and learning the craft. You'll never get it right, and
Hmm.
you'll never be done.
No,
Right, the greatest of all time will tell you they're never going to be done, and they're not even close to done. You know what I mean?
correct,
Because there's just
correct.
so much to learn, and you can go to the greatest musicians from Miles Davis, Chick Corea, all the jazz musicians that are incredible, and they'll tell you we're always learning at any age. They're constantly learning, and
Yes.
trying to figure it out.
There are times where, to this day, I'm playing. I'm practicing, and I figure something out, or I hear something. I tend to do a lot of what I do. A lot of times is I want to hear something that somebody else has done and then figure out how to do it,
Yeah.
because I know that's gonna push it out. That's gonna create some connections that
Yeah,
makes me
because
better.
it's an inspiring thing that then brings out your own
Exactly. And
added.
I've been, and I that's one thing. It's sometimes you get in a rut, especially if you've been doing something for a long period of time, where you stay in your comfort zone, and you're constantly, especially as a musician, right,
Yeah,
where you're playing the same things over and over. Yeah, it's fun and blah blah blah, but then you kind of stop growing.
yeah, right.
But really, the practice room is where all the magic happens, in my
Right.
opinion. And so if you can push yourself, once you learn one concept, and you got it really good backwards and forwards, then take it to the next level.
Mhm.
See what else you can do with it and push yourself. Because you're only going to get better. You're only going to make those connections in the brain, whether it's with your fingers, whether it's your limbs, or whether it's even vocals or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you need to push yourself, and like he said, never stop learning. Always, you know, look. And there's no shortage of great musicians out there that you can, you know read books on or watch videos on, and I guarantee you'll listen and be like, holy cow. And he may have played or did something 30 years ago that you're like, I didn't even think about doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a constant process, but I guarantee you, and it keeps it fun. It keeps it fun, and also keeps you motivated, because there's so many things to learn
Yeah,
you
and
know
because that's the exciting part for me. It's like when you learn something you didn't know
Right.
that morning.
Yep.
And even with music, like even now playing with this group that I'm playing with, I'm playing differently, because I'm learning, still learning. I'm still like realizing, oh, this is, you know, talking about scales and different modes and stuff like that, and you realize, oh, okay, these kind of go this this scale doesn't really go with those chords, and
Right.
I didn't realize that. I always thought it did. It doesn't. It's at a different key. It switches back and forth, and you
Mm.
start putting all these this puzzle together,
Yep.
and then when you first do it and you're like, oh, and then it gives you that, that
Hmm.
rush that you feel, right,
Yep.
the aesthetic jump into the stratosphere that you feel, because you figured out something,
Right.
and now you know that you've gotten that much better
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
something, and
Yes.
something that you love, and so that's really a key thing. It's also reading books are really important,
Hmm.
like if you can just read some books and start, finding books that not, I know a lot of people don't like reading, but you can get books on tape. You
Books
could
on
also
tape.
go on, yeah, you can get you can go to YouTube and watch YouTube videos and stuff like that. But find what it is that you're working on and see how someone is doing. I'm not saying copying,
Right. Right.
because like as a musician, every note that I've ever played on the guitar has been played a billion times, a trillion times before I ever even picked up a guitar.
True.
Right? These notes are vibrations. These have been going on for thousands of years. Vibrations are all over the universe, the world. There's different vibrations, right? So when you start really figuring out that this part of your work, part of your job is to learn more, you know that makes it exciting to go out and try to find someone that's doing something that you like and seeing how they're doing it,
Yeah.
and then you don't have to copy it, because a lot of times you can't copy it.
Mhm.
You're not that person.
Right.
I mean, you can, if you're a cover band or a tribute band or something like that, even those guys, don't aren't perfect to what
Hmm.
the record was or to what
Hmm.
the bands are, right? They're doing a tribute, a presentation of that music. But try to really find something that excites you with learning, and
Yes.
that's really the best advice is to find it has to excite you. If you're going there going like, oh, I got to learn this thing, if you're doing that, then you've already you're
Yep.
going backwards. You're
Hmm.
going backwards.
Agreed. Agreed.
You have to be like, ooh, you know what, I'm gonna get some music from that, I'm gonna get a book on that, or I'm gonna watch that film because I'm interested in how his performance was because I saw him in this thing and I think he's really good and somebody told me about that movie. I want to see what he did there. You know what I mean?
Yep. You know, it's just a
It is exciting.
quick thing on that is what I do, and this was a trick for me that I've used for a long time in drumming. I would always when I go to learn something new, and I figure it out, I then visualize myself doing it on stage with musicians.
Yeah.
Okay.
Implement actually using it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it could be whatever it is. It could have been, it could have been the rhythm to 50 Waves to Leave Your Lover, which I actually used, by the way, and with a band once. But yeah, it was interesting.
Steve Gadd.
Yeah, exactly. But when I learned it, I pictured myself doing it. I said, "Wow, I could actually use this in a group
Yeah.
situation," and then I actually picture how that would work and who would be playing, and it could be whoever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's just a little thing for you guys out there. It's a great visualization. Immediately, as soon as you learn it, picture yourself using it, and
Yeah.
it actually brings up your excitement right at that point.
That is awesome. That is exciting. That is awesome. I love that. Cool. Cool. All right. So we got two more here. We got about 9 minutes to the top of the hour here, but we're gonna make it. So the next one is celebrate the small wins.
Yes.
So often we are thinking about the big thing. We're always thinking about the big thing, always about the big thing, and the big thing maybe is not is down the line or something, or maybe you hit the big thing, or you hit something that you didn't even realize because you're still so focused on something else
Right.
that you forgot to celebrate the thing that you have been working on that you got now.
Yep.
And so the small wins are really really important. If you had a really good rehearsal, if you had a really good audition, if you felt really good at the end of an audition, or you had a musical performance that you thought, wow, we really played, or just a rehearsal, just a great conversation with someone,
Mm-hmm.
celebrate that win and be like, man, that moment in time that is no longer here, that passed and will never be back, that moment was special. And I'm
Yes.
going to celebrate it, and I'm going to actually acknowledge that moment because I really, don't hang on it for and just live off of it. You have to keep moving forward, right?
Right.
But celebrate it and acknowledge it, because
Yes.
it's such an injustice when someone achieves something that they have been talking about, and then they're just like, yeah, I did that, but I'm still not where I want to be, or I'm still this and that. And that's like, we talk about the reactive mind and we talk about the analytical mind, right? The reactive mind is always going to tell you what you're not, and
Mm-hmm.
what you suck, that you suck, and that, yeah, you did that, but it's still not as good as that other thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's where but if you can rise above that, again, we're going back to mindset, right? If you can rise above that enough to be like, you know what, that was an awesome interview, that was an awesome show that we did, that was an awesome performance, or that was a great film that we watched, I really loved that, I'm going to celebrate that moment, and live your life that way by celebrating the moments, and just think of how many times a year you'll celebrate
Yeah.
instead of always worrying for that one thing.
Exactly. I always said that when I've achieved my goal that I've been really wanting to for a long time, really what that is a very large collection of small wins.
100%. That is on spot on.
It really is because I had those wins on the way, on the way, on the way. It's almost like when you're building a house brick by brick, right? You know, you can even say that each brick is a win, and all of a sudden, wait a minute, I already have the foundation. Oh, wait a minute, I already have the first floor. Wait a minute, you know,
Yep.
these are all wins. Before you know it, you have the whole house,
Yep.
and you've done it. And then when you can sit back and look at it and go, wow, look at what I've built,
Yep.
right? Whether it's a house, whether it's a family, whether it's a band, whether it's you know, you wrote a screenplay and it became a movie. All that is a collection of small wins that have accumulated into one big giant win.
That's a
That's
great way of looking at it.
that's really what it is. So,
I
in
love that.
my eyes, that's the way I look at it, and that's why I always, you know, tell folks to kind of look at it in that way, and you will.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, it'll change your mindset.
Yeah. And it's also a good exercise to go back now. Now
Yes.
that if you have this information, go back and be like, well, what did I okay, well, I did get that job that I wanted. Well, what did I do to get that job? Okay, well, I had to get a resume. I had to set it up. I had to send it out. I had to
Right.
get this account. I had to go interview. I had to get my clothes nice, and I did all those things, all the small wins.
Yep.
Like, you know, you could
Yep.
say, man, I look really good for that interview. You know, if you had all those wins and you celebrated them, then the bigger win, the bigger success of the achievement becomes more, it's just more tasteful because now you
Exactly.
know where it came from. You know, I liken it also to when you and I were playing music because we started not knowing one note of anything that we were doing in
Hmm.
that little room of yours with your Sonar drum set
Yeah.
and my rock axe guitar, not knowing what we were really doing,
Right.
you know, but we were listening. And
Yes.
when you did when you did the whole thing,
Yeah.
we were like,
We
yeah,
yeah, that was it. It was
we had a win. We were like, you did it. Like
true.
you could do it. You did all the
True.
independence thing, you know.
Yep.
When I figured out the bar chords, you know, and I was
Hmm.
like, oh, I got bar chords, and I'm figuring out a lead, and I could solo and stuff like that. You know, we celebrated all that stuff, you know,
Yes.
and that's why we moved so quickly in abilities to play
Right.
within 6 months, right? You know, we
Yep.
talk about that moment where it was just a very quick thing that we just hit, you know. But yeah, it's definitely, and I love the way you mentioned that because it is a collection of those small wins, you know, and if you acknowledge them all,
Yep.
you can get even more,
Right.
you know, even more out of them, you know, because you can also share them and you could
Yes.
inspire others.
That's
You know,
right.
man, I just had a great rehearsal last night with my band. You know,
Yep.
we just really would gel, man. Oh, that's awesome. You know, you talk to somebody nice, right? It's a great thing. All right, so the last one here. We got a few minutes here. Um, Again, we don't really have a time on this. We can go
Yeah.
as long as we want, but I just kind of like to keep it to the hour because I appreciate all of y'all and I appreciate your time and I appreciate you being here. We've had some nice hearts and sent to us here, which is very nice. Thank you. So the last one is your journey, your rules. So
Hmm.
this is interesting. This is a kind of like puts all this together, right? So it says, finally, remember that this is your journey. Don't compare yourself to others. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
Set your own goals, follow your own path, and let your personal growth be the metrics by which you measure your success. So that is, at the end of the day, everything that we talked about, the nine different um, talking points, you know, important talking points. At the end of the day, those nine lead up to this 10 here because it is your journey and it is your rules. And you're on this journey not alone because remember, you have a lot of people here that can help you. You have mentors and you can network and all that stuff. You know, celebrate the small wins, have a strong mindset, take care of your health, all those things. But it's your journey,
Yeah.
you know, and it's you know, and we talked about this a few weeks ago about the self-sabotaging
Hmm.
part of it as well, where you can, you know, there are people, unfortunately, I know they're very comfortable in their space. They're very comfortable where they currently are. So there's no drive
Right.
and there's no risk taking, you
Exactly.
know, because they're comfortable, you know. And if you don't take that risk, well, you know, you are where you are,
Yep.
you know, and you may be fine, and you know, but again, it's your journey and it's your rules. So if you make the rule and you say, you know what, I don't care that I'm comfortable right now, that I have money, that I have a nice car, that there's food, that we have all this stuff. I don't care about that. I want to I want to I want to drive for more. I want I want to excel more. I want to help more people. I want to exceed my abilities. I want to push myself to do more. That's the choice that you have.
Yeah.
And because it is again your journey. If you make those rules early on in your career, then you're able to get there. You will get there
Right.
100%. If you make those decisions early in your career, we
Yeah.
are. Go ahead.
Agreed. Yeah, just really quick on that. So it's funny. I was, I look at this example as, doing the podcasting thing, and my show, right? It's funny because when we talk about not comparing ourselves to other people, right? And again, that's one of the tough parts where you try not to compare with other people,
It's
and
a big
it's
challenge.
it's challenging because you're like, oh, what did they do? I want to do that. But then you have to step back and realize, look, this is you. This is your voice. This is your journey. You have to do. And when I look back, I look back at or I listen back to the first few episodes I did of the show, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, and I don't know how people even listened to me because I was like, you know, and again, I'm nowhere
Yeah.
near where I want to be, but I've come so far
Yes.
on the podcasting piece, even in this show, that if you guys would have known me years ago, you would have been like, there's no way he would do any of this stuff.
Right.
But I had to go through my journey with this. And then also looking at it, my show, I said, listen, and I talked to John about this. I said, I'm going to do the show the way I want to do it.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to imitate anyone. I'm just going to do it the way exactly I feel is the right way. Like if I was the listener and if I wanted this information, because I love the information and I want to help people with this information,
Hmm.
and I'm going to give it the way I want to give it. Whoever listens, listens. Whoever doesn't, that's fine. Okay. But I'm just going to do it. And because I enjoy it and whatever. And that's how I thought about it because it's my journey and it's my rules
Yeah.
and that's the way I want to do it. And I know, there are going to be some people who grab on with me and say, you know what, we like those rules, we like your journey, we want to go on with you, and we'll go.
Yeah.
But have that mindset. That this is the way I'm going to do it. This is my voice. This is the song I'm going to sing. This is the music I'm going to play, whatever it is. And you can come, if you don't want to come with me, that's fine. But if you want to come along, great, let's do it. When you have that mindset, it's very freeing. It's very open, very freeing, and it really opens you up to creativity and doing a lot of great things.
100%. And I think that whole part of it, find out what it is that you want to listen to,
Yes.
and then because that's ultimately that's what makes it fun,
Yep.
right? I
Exactly.
mean, that's why we do it. We do it because we want to talk about these things. That's why we
Yep.
started talking about Star Trek because we like Star Trek. But
Exactly.
then it led to other things that we also like. We
Yep.
like film, we like music, we like health, and I was like, oh, let's talk about other things. And then we realized, oh, we love artists. We want to help artists. We want to help them kind of strive and do it better, and not have the struggles and the challenges that we all have,
Right.
and I think that that's a really important thing. No, sorry, my son's, I'm still on the air. Sorry. You want to say hi?
On
You
the
can say
air.
hi to the audience, but we're live. It's my son, everyone. Right. So I wanted to make a quick point, even though I know we're at the top of the hour, but I wanted also to show the photo, and I've shown this photo many times on here, but it was the photo of when I first did my first live stream, and 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 then years later when I did the second one, so
Wow.
the
Look at
first
that.
one I thought that this was fine. I look great.
Yeah, yeah. Michael McDonald.
Yeah. There's a headset. I got my SNL hat on. And you know, the mic was
Yeah.
whatever the headset had.
Yep.
It was blurry. It was a weak signal. I couldn't do good interviews. It was, but I was just again, you're starting out and you're trying to figure out the journey part of it.
Right.
But I was aware enough to know that it was going to get better. Like I knew because of the mindset that I've had and because of the music and films, I struggled through everything. I've taught myself all of this stuff. I'm self-taught, right? I knew that I would get better, and I knew
Hmm.
the next one would be the next. So I took a photo. I screenshot myself because I thought this has to get better, right?
Yeah.
Like, this can't be
Can't be any worse than this.
that's the word this. So I thought to myself at the time, I said, well, this doesn't look that bad. Let me get a screenshot just in case it gets better. And boy, did it get better.
Yeah.
Also George has, again, George was the, the shy guy growing up, and now he has his own show. He does his own wellness show. The Counterparts Wellness Show is an amazing show, and he's has some amazing doctors and health specialists on his show that you have not seen. You have to watch it if you're interested in your own health. You have to watch it. It's really, really great. So, and this is all done through what we're talking about: your journey, your rules.
Yep.
You decide what you're gonna do and how you're gonna make it go right. And by making it go right, you can really influence a lot of other people. So it's really a wonderful thing. And that is all, ladies and gentlemen. We want to, as always, we want to thank you for taking the time to spend with us. We don't take this lightly. We know that there's a million things that you can be doing, and if you spend just a few minutes listening to us and you enjoy this, please share it with your friends. Let them know that we're here every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. on the East Coast, 5 p.m. on the West Coast if you're there. And we talk about a lot of different motivational things to help the artists and to help individuals um, live a better life, and also so they can go and inspire others as well. We're walking the journey ourselves. We haven't reached the top of the mountain. We don't have all the answers. We just have the willingness to be able to help others and to get out there and talk and to be able to bring the message out there. And that's what we have, and that's our strongest point and our strongest ability right now. And we hope that it's helping and that we're influencing others. So all right, folks, I want to thank you very much, George Batista. Thank you very much. As always, my
Thank you,
name is
sir.
John Henry Soto, and this is Counterparts. We will see you all again next week, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also watch the show live um, on the interweb, www.counterpartsshow.com, and we'll be live there. We're also on Rumble. We're also on Facebook. We're also on YouTube. We're also on a lot of other places. But we want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you. See you all next week. And as always, peace.
Peace.
I think I missed it.